Choose your destiny. Round one. Fight!
Secrets?
Yeah, what kind of secrets?
The expensive kind.
Ah, jeez.
You know what floor the ambush is on?
This one. Go down.
That guy.
Yeah, well, he started.
Oh, it's like a baby chair.
Which squiggle means exit in Asian?
That's not Asian, Tony. Maybe it's a puzzle.
They pervert even the most basic.
Lao Tzu said that.
Lao Tzu? Keep cool, baby. I'll try not to shoot him hard.
Wrong horse, Tony! Turn around! I am overstimulated, Tony. I want to go home.
Baby, you're the first stop. I just need you to get where they can't shoot you. All right, we're moving. Stay close to me now. Cherry, you hanging in there?
This is bad news, Tony. I can't even hear.
Oh, you're upset. Oh, what did I tell you? Stay put.
But they can see me.
They won't. I shot him.
No, them.
Mom. Get on your knees, babe.
Hey, don't talk to me that way.
Baby, I just meant you should duck so they can't get you.
Sorry, Tony. Sorry, Lao Tzu.
Get in. All right, stay behind me, baby girl.
All right, so I've been promising this video on how to build your own home arcade system, and I apologize that it's taken so long, but I did have most of the footage completed, and then my hard drive crashed on my MacBook, so I had to pretty much start from scratch. So the original system that I built was a PC-based system, full-size arcade cabinet. I'll show you that system. But unfortunately, since the footage was lost, now looking backwards, the system's already built, so I can't show you how I built that one. So I did go ahead and I built a second system, which is a JAMMA-based system, so it'll give you the opportunity to see both. So as far as the electronics go, a JAMMA-based system is far less expensive and much simpler to build. but the PC-based system has far more capabilities. So the JAMMA-based system that I built that I'll show you has about 3,000 games, and the PC-based system that I built has about 40,000 games. The JAMMA-based system has mostly classic arcade games, and the PC-based system has all of those classic arcade games as well as modern arcade games, and pretty much every game for every console system that was ever produced. So the JAMMA-based system, the simpler system, basically has all of the game information saved on an EEPROM chip inside the JAMMA board. It's reliable, it's plug and play, but it's not expandable. So the JAMMA-based system, basically plug and play. It's easy to set up, very low maintenance, and it's fairly inexpensive to build. Now, the cons of that system is it's not really expandable. You're limited to just those classic arcade games and some console games. So the basic hardware that you'll need to build a JAMMA-based system is a JAMMA game board. What I use for my build, you'll see, is a Pandora's box. You'll need the JAMMA harness, which connects to the Pandora's box. You'll need your game buttons as well as your joysticks. And you'll find that there's lots of button and joysticks out there from different manufacturers and different quality levels. Would I recommend that you use either Sanwa or HAP? So in my PC-based system, it's all Sanwa joysticks and HAP buttons. In my JAMMA-based system, I use Sanwa joysticks and EG Start buttons, which are just Amazon knockoffs. So in addition to your joysticks and your buttons, you'll need a monitor. You'll need some sort of power supply. If you have an old PC power supply, that's what I used. Either an HDMI or a regular VGA cable. Now, I use an old monitor in my JAMMA-based system, so it only accepts a VGA cable. You'll need some electrical outlets, gang boxes, power switch, power cord, and some 3-2 electrical cable. Choose to light your marquee at the top. You'll also need your LED backlighting. And then in addition to the electronics, you'll need the wood to construct your case or cabinet, casters for the bottom, and if you choose to use T-trim, you'll need to get your T-trim as well, and the router tool in order to cut the groove into your case to attach the T-trim. So that's everything that you'll need to build the JAMMA-based system. And if you're going to build a PC-based system, and it gets a little bit more complex, the electronics that you need. So the pros and cons for building a PC-based system. Pros basically have limitless capabilities. As long as you have the right amount of PC power, you'll be able to run any game out there. And some of the cons are, there's a lot of setup. The setup is very time consuming. Programming and mapping the controls for each of the games. And depending on the type of PC power that you want, it could get very expensive. So the hardware needed to build a PC-based system. Obviously, you need your PC. I recommend something that has a lot of power, either an Intel i7, i9, or an AMD Ryzen 7, Ryzen 9, something newer. You'll need a powerful graphics card. You'll need a good power supply. The buttons and joysticks, just like the ones that I mentioned for the JAMMA-based system. With the PC-based system, in addition to the standard controls, you can also add light guns. You can also add standard control pads, similar to what's used on an Xbox. You'll need what's called an iPAQ controller. So what the iPAQ controller does is it converts the signals that come from the buttons into keyboard commands that the computer can understand. You'll need a hard drive or two. I have 2 hard drives on my system with a total of 21 terabytes. And again, you'll need your monitor, HDMI cable or VGA. With this type of system, I recommend only using an HDMI cable, because some of the games that you're going to be able to run on this are going to be 1080p, 4K. You're not going to want to lose that video quality in your display. Then you'll need your electrical components that I mentioned before, your outlets, gang box, switch, wiring, and LED backlighting for your marquee. So in this video, I'm not giving you measurements on how to build your cabinet, because it's really going to depend on how big you want to build it, and what size monitor you want to use in your system. I'll show you both the systems that I built. The JAMMA based system has a 20-inch monitor, and my PC based system has a 42-inch monitor. Now for me, when I built my first system, as a starting point, I downloaded the cabinet plans from GeekPub just to get a basic idea on how I wanted to construct the cabinet, and then I adjusted the sizes accordingly. The material that you want to use for building your cabinet, you want to use either MDF or quality plywood. Definitely don't want to use OSB or particle board because it's not going to turn out the way that you want. Then you'll need your casters for the bottom, as I mentioned before, T-trim, and depending on what you want to do with the outside of the cabinet, if you want to order graphics, you'll need to measure and figure out what size graphics you want to get for the cabinet. For my PC-based system, I ordered my graphics from Game On Graphics, and they're really high quality. I highly recommend them if you want to do some nice graphics for your cabinet. They're a little bit expensive, but I think that they're worth the money. And they can also do custom graphics. So I basically put together some images in Photoshop and sent that to them, and then they printed everything out for me. All right, so here's a shot of the JAMMA based system that I built. Here's a shot of the PC based system that I built. This is the inside of the JAMMA based system. This is the very simple JAMMA based system. Easy to construct, very low maintenance, but again, you're limited to whatever number of games your JAMMA board contains. So here's the back of the monitor, the mounting cleats. You can see the wiring for the buttons and the joysticks here. And down at the bottom, I have my power supply right there. That's an old PC power supply. And right here is the JAMMA board. That's where all the games are. And this is the JAMMA wiring harness that I had to order separate from the JAMMA board. Those get wired up to the joysticks and the buttons, as well as the speakers. Now I'm going to open up the PC-based system. I'll show you what's inside here. Okay, so I have my speaker system here, subwoofers. Here's the PC. This is the video card. On top, my hard drive stack, cooling fans, power supplies there. The operating system is stored on a smaller solid state drive that's mounted in here for quick startup. And then all the games are stored on these large hard drives. As I mentioned earlier, I have a total of 21 terabytes. Now up above, I have, this is plexiglass that I sanded lightly to give it that smoke. And this is backlit with LEDs. So when the system's turned on, this whole thing glows down the front kick panel of the system. Now up top, see I have my buttons and my joysticks. The joystick over here, there's the buttons, and right here is the iPad controller that I had mentioned earlier that converts the information from the buttons into keyboard commands that the computer can understand. I have my power interface right there, so I can power all my LEDs and the PC, the subwoofer system, my LED marquee light. I use slightly different joysticks on this cabinet. Hat buttons. Install buttons here on the side for pinball. Light guns. I have 2 light guns. And here is the receiver for the light guns. And you see I have my speakers here and there. And this is a backlit marquee. And also on the side, right here, is my speaker control, so I can adjust the volume and turn the sound on and off. And I also have my Xbox controllers, one on each side. So there are some games in this system that you can have 4 players. Actually, there's some games that you can have up to 8 players. But the way that this is set up, some of those games we can have up to 4 people playing at the same time. They're working on the sides. I have everything marked out where I want to make my cuts. I'm going to start making this with the circular saw, handheld circular saw, and then I'll finish this up with the jigsaw. I'll do this with the circular saw. Okay, so typically you're going to use a T-trim to go around this edge, and you use like a router tool to cut a channel in here where the T-trim will attach. But I'm building this second cabinet on the cheap. So I'm not going to be using the T-trim. I'm going to just put like a nice routered finish all the way around this edge and then sand it nicely. So I'm going to only do it on the outside edge of each piece, not on both sides. So here, the outside edge on this piece, and here the outside edge on this piece. Right, so I have lots of material cut for cleats. And start laying these out and attaching them. Just going to use another piece, figure out exactly where I want to put it, and I'll start nailing them into place. All right, cleats are attached. Now I'm going to start assembly. There's still a couple more cleats that I'm going to have to do. Ones that the monitor sits on, and the ones for the back, but I'm going to do them after I have the majority of the case assembled. All right, so this is what I got so far today. The sun's starting to go down. It's almost dinner time, so I'm gonna call it a day and finish this up tomorrow. We're almost there. Just need to figure out where I'm gonna put the cleats to mount the monitor, and then there are trim pieces that are gonna go around the edges on the monitor. All right, so we have the holes for the buttons and controls. So now I want to test fit, make sure that everything fits properly. Then I'm going to put the monitor in place and install the cleats where they need to go. And then we can start the final finish work before paint. In case you're wondering, this is the bit that I use to make all those holes. It's 1 1/8. This is all the electronics that's going to go into the cabinet. Have our buttons and switches. I'm only going to be using half of these buttons. The cables, the buttons, this on-off switch. It's going to be the main on-off switch for the cabinet. 2 outlets, which are going to be on the inside. The outlet box, switch box, switch plate. Have casters for the bottom. And this is a power supply that I pulled out of an old computer that's going to be powering the JAMMA board. You have the JAMMA adapter and our old monitor. And last, we have our cable for the monitor and our power cable for the power supply. Now I'm going to plan and mark where I'm going to put the main power on-off switch, as well as the outlet box. So I'm going to mount these boxes kind of next to each other. So the main power on-off switch, I'm going to mount it right here. All right, first coat paint is completed. just about dry. Do the second coat. All I'm doing is using the roller and the brush. All right, this thing is complete with the exception of the speakers are not hooked up yet. I just have a temporary speaker sitting on top right now. I'm waiting on the speakers and the decals. So I'm gonna flip the switch and see how long it takes for this to boot up. So about 7 or 8 seconds before it boots up.
The crushing pound of the mallet. The shattering blow of the club. The slashing edge of the blade.